Let's talk about how we do something called selective edits. These are changes that you make to a picture that only affect part of the photo. So you're basically going to be creating what's called a mask, so that way that masked area is going to be affected when you make an edit. You could use it to lighten or darken part of a picture, but not the entire image. Or you could use it to make part of the picture black and white and part of it in color. But really you can do any of the edits that you'd normally do in Lightroom, but only have it affect one part of the frame. So first, you're going to want to go to the Selective Edits, which is the first option in Lightroom. With that selected, you're then going to hit the plus symbol in the upper left-hand corner. You have three options for how you make your mask. The first one is painting an area that you want to change. To change this, you can affect the brush size by clicking on the top icon on the left, and you can make it larger or smaller. Choose a size that makes sense for the area that you're going to paint. The middle option is the feathering. So feathering is how blurred an edge is. So if you go with a higher number, you're going to have a much more blurred edge like a spray paint can. Whereas if you go the other way, you'll have more like a pencil. So I'm going to go kind of middle of the road here. Sometimes you want to have a little bit of feathering going on so the edit doesn't look too dramatic. The bottom option is the flow. The flow is when you're pressing down with your finger, how much of that area do you want to have get covered up with the edit? So you could have it be affected a little bit less by having a lower flow, or keep it at 100% if you want to have it fully cover that area with the edit. After you've selected the type of brush that you're going to be using, you simply will just be painting by pressing and holding on the screen to add in that edit. Now, if you make a mistake and you go over an edge that you don't want, you can either click the little back arrow. You'll find that in the upper right-hand corner, close to the top of the screen. Or you can go to the minus, or I guess it's the eraser brush, and you can start from the edge that's away from the edit and push your way closer in. So now I've got the area selected that I want to change. Now I can affect how it's changed by clicking on one of the edits on the right-hand corner of the screen. So if I want to change the brightness, exposure would be a great option for me. I can go up or down. You'll see that it makes the other tools disappear, so we're just focusing on how bright or dark the area looks. So I'm just going to darken it a little bit so it matches a bit more with the rest of the picture. But let's say that I wanted to have the background black and white. Well, I simply would go to the color option here, and I could change the saturation to be 0 for that area that I painted. So that would be a way to make that that edit be where I just have part of the picture be black and white and part of it be color. After you're happy with a selective edit that you've done, you click the check mark, and that applies it. You can keep adding more and more selective edits if you'd like. The next one I'll show you is this one. This is called a radial gradient. So when I click on here, I can expand out or change the size of the radial gradient that I'm using. So this might be a great option if I'm doing a photo of a person and I want to have just them affected and have kind of a circle around them of edit. But again, it's the same process from there. I could change the feathering. I could change erasing part of it or not part of it. Well, let's just do this. So I'll change it for the exposure. And then I'll click this and you can see that that option with the little half white, half black circle cut in half switches it so that way the edit is within the circle or not within the circle. That's pretty dramatic. The other selective edit that you can do is one called a gradient, which is a line. So with this one, you can affect the angle that it's coming at or the direction. So let's say that I wanted to have the tree different than the background. This is a way to create a gradient that's going to go over the tree. You can change how it flows from one edge to the other that way. So with a gradient, I could change something like, well, let's just use the black and white example. So now I made the tree black and white, whereas the background is in color, by using this gradient in here. If you want to go back in and change one of your selective edits afterwards, you simply click on it. There's a little symbol as to where you began painting, and you can change how that edit is affected. So I could go back in and change that exposure if I wanted to. That really looks strange, but if you wanted to make a photo look like that, you could. So these are selective edits, and they're a way for you, again, to affect just part of a picture rather than the whole picture.